Hi, everybody. I have some information that I want to pass along. And, I don't know why. I just thought, I think maybe more is happening than that Kincaid fire. So I did a little bit of research, and, well, lo and behold, we've got evacuations for a portion of North San Bernardino after a brush fire started at approximately 2 a.m. Wow. Well, a brush fire started, I think, what was it, Monday, and several houses were, well, 9 houses were burned, 3 destroyed. This is a new fire, old water fire. So, also the Kincaid fire and the Palisades fire, Pacific Palisades fire is still going. All right. I want to, I'm going to start recommending channels that I think everybody should pay attention to, at least check once a day for what is happening. There are a lot of us who are going down, and I am experiencing, I don't know what I'm experiencing really. I can't quite figure it out. Maybe it's overwhelm, maybe it's the frequencies. I'll post a video on that. But I can't keep up with everything at all. I'm really very frustrated because there's so much I want to be posting, and I can't seem to do it. So it's really, it's important to do as much as you possibly can in terms of your own research. Get the websites and the channels that are posting like daily information, because so much is happening now. Look, there's no way of turning any of this around. We do not have the American people. And I'm going to post a video on world chaos, erupting, protests going on all over. And what they, in other countries, they fight their government. What do? We fight one another. So, all right, Logic Before Authority is one of those channels. And he just posted today, massive explosion strikes Northern California 50 miles wide.
Here we go through last night into the morning hours, and boom, huge explosion. Look at that. Holy cow. That's a huge area. Look at the size of that area. You tell me what fire starts like that. This was an absolute attack on those people that live there. And they're clueless. They have no idea, unless somebody happens to get this video to them, that fire and their houses were burnt down intentionally. God, that thing must be 75 miles across.
Okay, here's another video. Ignition of the Kincaid fire. Watch, this is where the fire is, and watch this blow up. Now, I don't know what these lights are flashing over here, but this is the fire, and you'll see it blow up. I just noticed something. I want to take it back a little. The fire jumps. Okay, did you see that? I do not know what this light was. I just noticed that it took a real jump. What is this light that goes out, but it jumps and explodes over here? And this thing is exploding fast. This thing. This is the Kincaid fire. It explodes in seconds. You know, I cannot stress enough, emphasize enough that this war has so accelerated. I mean, it's like, you know, pushing that gas pedal down to the metal. It is on, and we are being destroyed. And I wish that I could, you know, say those words that could snap people out of their normalcy bias, those who are in the awake crowd. And, you know, it's between the attacks with weather, fire, the economy that they are propping up until they no longer prop it up anymore, all of the poisons that are making people sick, the frequencies, 5G, Agenda 2030, everything has accelerated, so it does not matter if Trump is in the office or anybody else is in the office. It does not matter. So I just want to, I'm going to link below to these two Twitter pages that are giving a lot of information on these fires, but apparently another one started, the Annandale State Park, Santa Rosa, a brush fire. Look at all the homes next to this brush fire, and they're saying that the winds are going to be whipping up and getting stronger. Well, I also got a comment. Hang on, I'll read it. Well, I don't want to do that because I haven't blocked out the name, but she lives in Santa Rosa. She said her power didn't go out, and the winds were not strong. They had some gusts at about 10 miles per hour. So this is KPIX, and I'll refresh it just to see if anything else has come in. Fire road closures. Expect all roads east of Highway 128 closed due to the Kincaid fire. And evacuations. Proposal to ban panhandling. Busking. What's busking? I don't know. Is dead. Well, that's good. So 1,380 people are under evacuation orders. 45 to 50 people are at the evacuation center in Hellsburg. I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to say whatever like it doesn't matter. It does matter. But you can see it there. California Governor Gavin Newsom lashed out at Pacific Gas and Electric officials Thursday, calling the utility's policy of shutting off power as a wildfire prevention plan, dog eats dog, capitalism, meeting, climate change. Oh my God. You know, it's the stupidity in this country has also so exploded. It's like it's really hard to maintain one's sanity when you see what's happening to this country and you face stupid people all the time or face people who just don't care. It's like I'm so tired of it. All right. Retardant drops do not work in trees or brush. So I will also post to this page. I mean, we live this over and over and over again. And that means that it should beg questions why this continues over and over and over again. Right? But it doesn't. It doesn't. Oh, man. I'm telling you, every single day something is happening in this country that is making an awful lot of people, their lives gone. Not, well, a lot of people are dying as well, but, their lives have just been turned inside out, whether losing jobs or having their homes destroyed. The numbers are accelerating. No, the population is not growing. It is decreasing. So many people are dying, and so here they're saying that, this weekend, these offshore winds, they slowly diminished today. Warm, dry conditions continuing, but stronger and more widespread offshore wind event expected Sunday. First it was Saturday, now it's Sunday. I guess they have, their ear to the wind, and they can, it's slowing down, so I guess it's coming Sunday. Holmes Geyser Road, burning up. Smoke is no doubt already affecting San Francisco. How many animals don't make it out? I can't stand it. Large Animal and Livestock Evacuation Center, Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Well, exploded is right. All right. Well, Kincaid Old Water Palisades fire actively burning on Thursday morning, raising concerns about those winds coming in this weekend. So, even though the power shutoffs, your electricity being shut off, doesn't work, I think you can expect more power being shut off. Not just Northern California, but Southern California as well. And these fires, you could also, if you live close to these areas, just be prepared. Be prepared. Don't take any of this lightly. Take everything that you're seeing now very seriously, because eventually it will come to your door in some form or another. It's coming to your door. And if it doesn't come this year, don't sit back and think everything's fine. Don't think that, hey, don't fall into that normalcy bias. the invincibility syndrome that teenagers have, adults have it as well. So if you think, oh, what a shame, it's happening to these people, but it'll never happen to me, which generally operates as a subconscious, thought process, it's coming. It's coming. All right. I'm going to play a few minutes of some videos. This is Dollar Vigilante. I recommend that you check out Dollar Vigilante's channel because he is talking what's happening to our financial system.
Who isn't talking about this crisis? It's actually, I'm pretty amazed. Pretty much everybody, whether it's the IMF, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve, Bank of England, governor, the only people really not talking about it are the politicians, because partly they don't know, and partly they don't want to talk about these sort of things. But it's pretty amazing. So just recently, Mervyn King, who is a former Bank of England governor, also known as Lord King, Lord, came out and said pretty much what I've been saying in very concrete terms. He essentially said that the world is sleepwalking into the next financial crisis. And I totally agree with that. It's pretty amazing how few people realize what's going on as we sit on the cusp of what even Lord King says is going to be far worse than the 2008 crisis. And I totally agree with that. I've been through a number of crises. 2001, the tech crisis, where I had to essentially wrap up my company almost in overnight, in like one day. It's amazing how fast, when it hits, how fast it hits. But there wasn't a ton of debt back then. I don't even know what the US government debt was, but I'm going to estimate probably around 3, 4, or 5 trillion. It's now 23 trillion. And then they didn't fix any of the issues, probably on purpose. And then we had the 2008. And this is where Lord King really says it very well, what's going on. He said the world is sleepwalking towards a fresh economic and financial crisis that will have devastating consequences for the democratic market system. That's interesting. So he's essentially saying this could end up in the destruction of governments, which I agree with. That's what I'm talking about.
And I agree with too. The chaos is designed. The destruction of governments, well, what happens then? You have the United Nations stepping in as the one world government because these sovereign nations with their governments, well, they just haven't been able to fix anything. There's so much chaos going on in the world, and we need one world government. This is the new world order. So, and it's coming. It's coming fast. I want to play. This was very interesting. Dollar Vigilante inserted from a TV show in the 80s. I don't know what the TV show was, but it sure does speak a lot of what we are living right now. And this was in the 80s. Okay, so let's listen.
It's not fiction, but check this out.
Okay, yes. We are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks? And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no. See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, Just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. When I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. Just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "Ah, New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different banal theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they built. They built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree, and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we really should feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished, and that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing, and there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being, with feelings and thoughts, and that history and memory are right now being erased, and soon nobody will really remember that life existed on the planet.
I partook.
Okay. Well, that is what we are living. And we have built our own prison through our ignorance and non-action. Never holding anybody accountable, just living these self-centered lives, you know, and this is the result of it. You know, people who have refused to look into Agenda 2030, and those who know about Agenda 2030 and don't do anything to save their own skin, have helped to build their own prison. You know, these mega regions, where is all this money coming from? The climate change, you know, implementing all of those rules and regulations, and the building of smart cities. It's coming from the taxpayer. We're building it. Okay, so, once again, here we go. Overnight, Fed, the New York Fed, boost amount of liquidity offered to financial system, boosting it from 75 to 120 billion. That's how the economy continues. This is it. It's not a working economy. It is not a well economy. It is not a great economy. Right now, when I posted that video last night about all of the layoffs, you are not being told the truth about what is going on. What is going on? We're beyond the danger, zone. You think about the California fires? Well, guess what? The economy is on fire. It's on fire. And they're not putting it out. Oh, well, I guess they're just containing it with these quantitative easing that they're not calling quantitative easing anymore. You know, these, let's print the money and just pump it right into the system.
It's Thursday, October 24th, 2019. People, the charade just got larger. And I want to read this to you. Again, I don't want it to be my words. This is an announcement from the New York Fed, which came out yesterday. It is increasing its temporary overnight repo operations to, get ready, at least 120 billion a day from the current 75 billion at least. In addition to that, they're going to be increasing their, here we go home. In addition to the repo increase, term repo operations are rising to at least 45 billion from the current 35 billion. This is part of what I've been explaining to you, that this is just the beginning of the scheme that we're seeing right now, and still not a single syllable, not a single word from the President of the United States, and you won't hear it at all. Radio silence, that should tell you something. The silence is deafening. Now let's back up a minute more. This whole temporary quantitative easing, stimulus, capital injections into the market, capital injections into the banks, this was supposed to be temporary and end on the 10th of this month. Then they extended it to the 8th of next month. Then they put it off till January. This is the second time they've actually increased the size of these purchases, and I can promise you, this is permanent. I said to all of you, and you can attest to this if you follow my blog, the day that this was announced, I explained to you this was just the beginning, and it was not going to be temporary. It was going to be perpetual. In fact, that was the title of the video I think I did at the time. This is again nothing. What you're seeing here, these increases in purchases, this repo scam, just the beginning. We are on the threshold of something that has not even been witnessed before. And again, the silence is deafening. If this were to get out, if the President of the United States were to announce what the Federal Reserve is doing right now, it would rattle the confidence. Most people have no idea what's going on with regard to the Federal Reserve, the quantitative easing, the fiscal stimulus, the recapitalization of the banks. People don't know because they believe the lie. They believe the narrative. Everything is great. But look, what does this come down to? It's so simple to understand. We know this, you and me. If you follow this blog, it could not be more clear. The system, because it's debt-based, demands that more capital be printed out of thin air, added to a digital screen in epic sums. Without this mechanism, we get a lockup of the entire system and an absolute global meltdown, unlike anything we've ever seen before. The fact that the Federal Reserve is in here doing this right now, and attempting, I think, at least to keep it off of the headlines, because again, you have to understand, the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government, both private entities, this goes back to what I was just saying. The president can't say it. He can't let people know this, what's going on, because it will rattle confidence. The market runs off of confidence. Henceforth, the narrative that everything is great. Henceforth, the narrative that this is booming, while everything is grinding to a halt here. Now, without the capital injections into the market like we're seeing now, we will get a credit freeze. And the yield curve right now would be so inverted. Understand, the reason why this repo scam is being increased is to keep the short end of the curve pinned down and to keep the illusion real that the yield curve has a normal slope. No, it's not true whatsoever. If you were to strip out what the Federal Reserve is doing right now, we would have probably the greatest inverted yield curve that we have ever seen in history. And the only reason why the Fed is in here again, well, there are several reasons. Number one is because we're going to face they're facing right now a liquidity crisis. Cash must be injected into the market. It must be borrowed into existence in greater and greater amounts. Without doing this, everything grinds to a halt. Period. The end. No ATMs working, no cash in the bank, no transactions, nothing. Zero. We go back to Mad Max. So sincerely, this is why this is going on right now. And this is why the president again is not mentioning it. Because if he starts being asked questions about what the Fed is doing, he's going to have to spin this to a very high order. He knows why this is going on right now. He understands that a credit freeze, we're on the threshold of it, and without the Fed continuing to increase what they're doing, that's it. Party over. So there's a lot of effort going into keeping this propped up, at least to the election.
And frankly, well, my gut, so what? But I don't think it's going to get to the election. And I've been reading articles. I think I said this in my video last night, that these economists, these financial experts, some are saying we're not even going to get to a 2020 election. We're not even going to get there. So I also want to tell you about a video Grindall posted 2 days ago. If we are at the end of America, does voting really matter? He says a lot of great things here. Now, I also feel like I have to inject, I don't agree with 100% of what anyone says. And still getting people leaving comments about, be careful of Greg Mannarino. Freemason, and I've said this before in videos, look, a lot of guys join the Masons, or, how does that even, what they're called? I don't know. But to network for business, to be a success, yada, yada, and they have no clue what goes on at the higher tiers. Now, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Refocus your, brain to what is happening on a daily basis. Mainstream media sometimes does actually publish the truth. And what they are posting, mainstream media, that needs to be followed too. All of the lies and, the events that are taking place, because they're your enemy. You need to know what the enemy is doing. Now, we've had, years and years, certainly since Google took over YouTube, unfortunately, a lot of people who have caused a tremendous amount of division and helped to annihilate trust in this community. So, we are at a point where you need to figure out who is speaking the truth. And everything else is irrelevant. There's no stopping what is taking place. We are at a critical point here, and we live that critical point every single day. We are going down fast. So you want to get the truth. Forget about personalities. And, that's why I've also said you need to do your own research. Get a basis of knowledge. Get a base knowledge of every agenda that is taking place, so that you can listen to people and discern properly what is the truth. And if they say things that are a little bit outside of your base knowledge, then you need to do some research to find out, to verify for yourself what you just heard. It's based on my research, I will tell you that everything that I hear from Gregory Mannarino is the truth. So, look, they got us, and it really pisses me off. So I'm just going to play a few minutes of Grindall's video here. But I hope that you click on the link below and watch it yourself and listen to what he is saying.
Now, I'm not going to show you the actual text of what I wrote because it's very long and it won't all fit on the screen. So I thought there's no one better to show on this video right now than our friend Alan. And as many of you know, our friend Alan is a friend of this YouTube channel. And it's very appropriate to show Alan off right now because Alan has had a major role in the total destruction of Southern California. So here's what I said. I did vote for Trump, and I promoted him enthusiastically in my videos during the campaign. But that is not relevant to me anymore. Who would I vote for? I would expect you to know that answer since you have seen so many of my Facebook posts. But to answer your question, I don't want any of these people to win. I have no interest in voting on who rules over me anymore. 2019 America is unrecognizable when you compare it to pre-9/11 America. That is the trend that we are on, and that is probably going to be the trend for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter who wins these elections anymore, and it probably hasn't for a while. The left controls America. Every single facet. They control the media. They control entertainment. They control education. They control Hollywood. They control music. They control sports. And they control nearly every large company in America. The left owns this country, and that didn't start yesterday. It started over 50 years ago, and their mission is all but complete.
All right, I'm going to say it's not a left-right thing, because the right have been right along for decades destroying this country as well. Republicans, Democrats, there is no two-party system. It's one party, and they're taking us down. Now it's obvious. It wasn't so obvious decades ago. But even decades ago, we saw fascism. We did not see this free country with governments that were not tied to corporations. In the 80s, we saw corporations ruling our representatives in Congress. This has been going on for a long time. Our system is so thoroughly corrupt, there is no way that any one person that gets into the White House is going to fix anything. It's irrelevant. Voting, go for it. Play the Matrix game. But it doesn't matter. We are so at the end of what could have been a great country with freedom. But we, the people, didn't protect it. But, I really respect people who come out and say, okay, I did this, but after a while watching what has occurred, I've changed my mind. Like Grindall says, I voted for Trump. He believed in Trump. Well, he doesn't anymore, because if you listen to this video, he talks about how nothing has changed, everything has gotten worse. And you can think that the guy is genuine, wanting to save this country, or You can be like me, who just kind of observes what's going on and points out, all of the actions that have been taken that have, well, clearly indicated that the guy is not genuine, that he is a puppet. Or you can support him entirely. But recognize that nothing is changing for the better, but everything is changing for the worse. The war against Americans, the destruction of this country, has only accelerated. So it doesn't matter, what your thoughts are about Trump. What matters is what's happening. So Grindall at the end says, what you need to do is prepare. What you need to do is prepare for the ultimate destruction that is coming, the chaos that is coming, the civil unrest that is coming. Because whether or not Trump is impeached, it doesn't matter. It's coming. You impeach him, it's coming. He doesn't get impeached, it's coming. Because Americans have been so it's been so successful with social engineering. Wow. Haven't they done a great job? Because Americans, they never look at the real enemy. They think their enemy, if they're on the left, they think it's their fellow Americans on the right. The right think it's their fellow Americans on the left, and boy, do they go at it. And it's going to explode. So, this is Grindall's channel, and if you want to know, if you don't know much about Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, I suggest that you start flipping through these videos and watch, because Grindall 61, no one that I know has done a better job at showing how it works in one's community. All of the manipulation of residents within their community by people who are implementing Agenda 2030. No one has done a better job of showing that, yes, even local government, all of those who are sitting, on the board are puppets of those behind the curtain. The puppets in state government have those pulling the strings, those behind the curtain, just as the federal government does. We have been infiltrated on every level, and they're taking us down. I also will point out this video, UN peacekeeping activities inside the U.S., streamed 6 hours ago. The Common Sense Show, this is Dave Hodges, and he's interviewing someone who is talking about UN peacekeepers here in the United States. Well, is it a surprise? So many were posting on that years ago. And, what the man who he's listening to, on the phone, talks of these UN peacekeepers saying that they're there for civil unrest in this country. They're there to be the soldiers that will help implement martial law when civil unrest occurs. And then we will really see idiocy. The abject insane. It will be like living in a psychiatric institution when suddenly, one flew over the cuckoo's nest and everything erupts. But Americans are going to go after other Americans. And the peacekeepers will be there to keep the peace. All right, all links are below. Come out of the matrix. Come out of that matrix. It's, everything is just a staged show. Nothing is real. And when you don't understand that nothing is real, then you become a puppet and you get triggered. They can pull your strings.